Oseo.
Oseo.
I am Coyote, and I personify this man, Carlos. Carlos is a free-range Cherokee, Tsitsilagi, and together we upend the empirical order of things. First thing I want to do is introduce this book. We have a small group, mini group, we call ATC, Awareness Through Conversation. And we take on books and essays and articles and have a discussion about them. The book I'm introducing that we've been looking at for a while is Becoming Animal, an Earthly Cosmology, and this is by David Abram, available through Amazon and like that. And it's really, really a wonderful book. And one way to introduce it really in this chapter is called The Real in Its Wonder. That is a very apt phrasing for the name of Native American spirituality. The Real in Its Wonder. And the epigram that I'm starting with, right under that title, we know what the animals do. What are the needs of the beaver, the bear, the salmon, and other creatures? Because long ago, men married them and acquired this knowledge from their animal wives. Our ancestors married animals, learned all their ways, and passed on this knowledge from one generation to another. And the only information is just as a carrier Indian in British Columbia. Well, that's a good introduction, for this wonderful book by David Abram. We call this country now Turtle Island. So the way that this has come about, the stories of it, has a beginning to, it's like the telling, like, a beginning story. We call it, there's a world up above in the sky, Galun Lati. Every morning I say that, Galun Lati. And up there in that world in the sky, there's a kind of a tree. And this tree has leaves, and at the top of this tree, there is a white flower. And this flower is luminous and illuminates that world. The wondrous thing about this tree, and its flower especially, is that there is a fragrance. And this fragrance is the aroma of sweet burning tobacco that permeates all of that world. And so tobacco, this initiates, tobacco is the paramount offering in all of Native America in any form, whether you burn it or you sprinkle it or leaves or whatever you have in all of that. And so the way this story, had come about is that flower that was on top of that tree somehow had an attraction here to the earth. And so she let go of one of her flower petals, and that began to descend. And this woman, it's a woman, white flower woman, Asusena, means a white flower woman, she is descending here to the earth. And it's like a swan dive. I had a dream image of her, and that's what I'm describing. And I did a tempera painting, of her in the swan dive descent. And she has long white hair that is flowing behind her as she is descending. Well, as she is going towards the earth, there was only water there. And so somehow the creatures or beings there knew that, she's going to have to land somewhere. So somehow they got the turtle, the turtle to come up. And the turtle came up there to, provide a place for white flower woman to land there. So she did. Now, the turtle's back is, not, it's kind of bare. So they needed to put some mud there. And so the muskrat was the one that dived down deep, deep, deep down into the primal water or something like that and brought up the mud. And with the help of the beaver, they put that mud on the back of that turtle. Now the name muskrat is an Algonquin name, actually Musquash. And the name of the place called Massachusetts actually means the place where this happened. In other words, it's a cognate. Massachusetts means that there is a hill where the muskrat and the beaver first put the earth, the mud, from which everything began to grow. And so it goes on, from there, how it all multiplied. So now we all calling this Turtle Island, and that's the way that has come about. Now, in the current affairs of what I'm referring to as Second Nation, the United States, they're having a transition. That's what they're calling it, transition of power. Well, this transition, is pretty important because something is shifting. So something is very potent, at this time. And so for that, I'm doing this chant. I'm doing the whole chant this time, which is for the beaver, the otter, the muskrat, and the ermine. And the beaver is, providing balance and stability. Also, to be a beginning, a construction, beginning to, we're having a shift, and we're going to have we have a new threshold is what we have. And in this new threshold, we're going to have a beginning. So the beaver has the allies, of otter and muskrat and ermine to help in this construction. And that's, the chant here that I'm starting off with. It was sitting above south, red, beaver, he killed, it died, he was sitting above west, yellow, beaver, he killed, it died, he was sitting above north, black, beaver, he killed, it died, he's sitting above east, white, beaver, he killed, it died, he's sitting above south, red, otter, he killed, it died, he's sitting above west, yellow, otter, he killed, it died, he's sitting above north, black, otter, he killed, it died, he's sitting above east, white, otter, he killed, it died, he's sitting above south, red, muskrat, he killed, it died, he's sitting above west, yellow, muskrat, he killed, it died, he's sitting above north, black, muskrat, he killed, it died, he's sitting above east, white, muskrat, he killed, it died, he's sitting above south, red, ermine, he killed, it died, he's sitting above west, yellow, ermine, he killed, it died, he's sitting above north, black, ermine, he killed, it died, he's sitting above east, white, ermine, he killed, it died, So that ought to help out, seriously, big time. Now let me refer again, to the tobacco. Over here, if you go over here, this is a tobacco pouch. It goes with, the pipe, the tobacco pouch. And above it, I have made a, replica of the flower giving off the tobacco aroma, like that. So again, the tobacco is ubiquitous throughout Native America. And to go along with that, I want to show you, for people who need to use tobacco for offerings, to smoke or to sprinkle. Quite available is now, it's a commercial product, is, you know, the Spirit, American Spirit tobacco. So here's what it looks like. You can buy it in the store, and it's pure tobacco, and it's from North Carolina. And North Carolina is the Cherokee country, and still the Cherokee headquarters is there in North Carolina. So this is guaranteed to be genuine, pure Spirit tobacco. Now, in the education I was given in Cherokee, when I had fulfilled that, I'll call him, you know, my mentor, he had carved for me this stone pipe. And this stone pipe is called beaver tail. So this is to say how I've become, you know, acquainted with the lore of the beaver. And so the way that we do that, also I would say with that, this is my, call it medicine bag, that contains some very ancient beads, I kind of call it like that, and other things that these were the things given to me, you know, for having that education is the way I'm putting it. And ritually speaking, to light it was with crystal. So with the crystal and holding the crystal up to the sun so we can ritually light it. And so I put the crystal here on the lighter, and this is the way I'm going to acknowledge this. So that'll suffice, you know, to begin this, you know, throughout. So people can use, you know, any kind of tobacco, you know, you can roll a cigarette, you know, and sprinkle it and so forth to really realize the sanctity of tobacco and how that it came about. So that's what we like to talk about here. And you can see, you know, the display of the beaver. And over here, you can go over here, this is a turtle shell rattle. Also, I was inaugurated into a healing society called False Face. And this turtle shell rattle goes with that. But what you to look at is the shell of the turtle, and then you can see what our United First Nations looks like. Just like you see on a TV on the weather map, the United States, they have all the states like that. Well, here for us, it is the shell of the turtle for our First Nations. Oh, that's what I have to say. Oh, we're in the month of November. It's called Nilichitsiosi, which means time of the little wind. But I've exaggerated that by calling the Hitleys the time of the universal wind, because the universal wind is universal mind. And I had also introduced this, that this is the month given to Native American heritage. And that's really wonderful that we have this time, because November is a liminal, it's a liminal month, and so it's very, very fertile, because now we're going to head into, you know, the winter. So we are, you know, at a threshold, and it's the most fertile time. So I have that, and I have the, here is the moon. This is called the beaver moon. So we are still within that auspiciousness for the beaver. And we have pretty much, you know, fulfilled all of that, and we're going into now the buffalo. A few days ago on the KPBS, they did show a really pretty good film about the Black Hills and the Pine Ridge Reservation. the Black Hills, I don't know if I can use this the right way, is kind of the cathedral of Native America, if you understand that in the right way. And in every way, the people are trying to get this returned. I think actually it's in a treaty that it should have been, but the government just stalls and stalls. And recently, a lot of people in the world got together and bought for the Lakota Nation a portion of that Black Hills, but there's still more of it that remains to, to come over to the people. But anyway, they had this film, and on this film they also showed, the buffalo. We were up on a hill, and they were saying that the buffalo, were declined because of overhunting. Let me put a correction in that. The destruction of the Buffalo Nation was systematically carried out by the United States Army at the order of the President. And thinking along that way, I would like to see the systematic altering of the faces carved in Mount Rushmore systematically return to the natural contours of the mountain. Then we can say maybe we'll even up there. The case with the beaver was just as prominent as the buffalo, but mainly in the eastern woodlands. Even the green beaver, which means the bigger. So everybody has a dream of the green beaver. That is just the ultimate. That's just the most. The green beaver means that he's full of life, and he is in this perspective, he is like the progenitor or the guardian of humankind. Where in the plains people, pretty much the buffalo. So the green beaver is the buffalo. The green beaver is the beaver that never dies. And the beavers had huge cities and so forth, and we have a lot of lore of the beaver. They were decimated by commercial interests between colonial Americans and Europe. So thousands and thousands of beavers were decimated, for commercial interests. But the beaver who never dies, still is, available or can avail itself to people. And there's just a lot of ways that we understand that for the beaver, for one. So we have beaver stories, and sometimes beaver and otter get together. So that's my one chant. Here, now I'm going to go to another one. And here is my painting of the buffalo. We call it the buffalo who never dies. That would ostensibly being the green buffalo, but it would mean that he has, the vigor. So anybody have a dream of it, whether it's the beaver or of the buffalo, that means that your soul, your spirit is being reinvigorated. And that is so. So that is my rendering of the buffalo who never dies. And alongside of it, this is braided sweet grass, buffalo grass, which is, pretty standard as part of the offering. And these can also be burned as incense, like the tobacco is. And if you can go down here, that I'm using this to, it's to represent a symbol. And the symbol is the watering hole on the prairie. And let me read this for you. The most unifying concept in the whole of the Buffalo Clan memory is that of the sacred water hole on the prairie, in which reposes the spiritual unity of the Buffalo Clan life. It is the fundamental symbol of clan solidarity. From it comes all eternal qualities, and to it those qualities return when they have been lived or employed by the calves of the Buffalo Clan. Miniuspala is the name in Lakota. for that water hole. Again, my piece is representing the symbol that you would use in the lodge here. And here, this is the squirrel, our continuance, the continuance of our way, of our nation, and so forth, is ensured by Salili, the long life happiness squirrel. And the squirrel is the one who takes care of Hochitagia, meaning the spiritual seed. And that's what I have portrayed here in this way. Now, in this time that we're still in the Native American heritage, this is a most important poem. This was authored by Julie Hochfield, and Claudia and I had been attending the California Poets in the School up in Ventura when Julie did a reading of her poem from this book, Toyon, like that. And afterwards, I met with her and she gave me the book here with this poem. This is still the situation in places in Native America such as Pine Ridge and Wind River. Another death on the res. Wind River, Wyoming, home of the Northern Arapaho, a slew of teen suicides. The teens speak through silence. Johnny and Rita find the grandson they raised since he was a baby, hanging from a tree at the end of their driveway. I sat down by that tree and cried. Only time I drank in 30 years. Johnny, a peyote man, confides. The peyote men keep praying. Grandmas keep cooking choke cherry gravy, deer meat stew, making fry bread. Slap, slap, slapping the dough in their hands. The teepee goes up. The sweat rocks are hot. Water poured from a gourd on glowing stones that sizzle, sing. Creator hears prayers rise in ancient song, ancient steam, blood pounding veins, the blood of the earth. People are keeping hold of what's sacred, stitching it with beads, singing it in the sweat, in the teepee. Sun dancers sacrifice for 7 days. Women fast in the rabbit lodge for 4. No food or water, their minds focused on prayer. Still, so many deaths on the res. Grandparents raised 10 grandkids. Parents lost to alcohol, accidents, drugs. Each death pierces Johnny, a sun dancer with so much love to lose. The young death shred him, so when the old ones go natural, there is no room for natural grief. Words not said. Words not said. Here are some food stamps. Just sit right here and get fat in this single wide mobile on this little piece of your land that we have taken away, and now we are giving it back. Forget about the buffalo and that need in your blood to roam. Stay right here. Get diabetes while you're at it. Here's some soda, white bread, lunch meat that is so dead it will kill you. Or if it doesn't, here is a beer and a pack of cigarettes on the house. Be our guest in your house. We are moving in and you're moving out. We will open museums about you. Look at all those nice leather clothes the Indians made, the tourists say. Buy a trinket, go away. You become a history piece, a souvenir, even though you are still here. We like museum mannequins and cigar store Indians better than we like you. They don't love, they don't pray, they don't make too many babies, they don't drink, and they don't die behind steering wheels, hanging from trees. Die while still alive from the models we gave so generously. Unnumbered deaths each day. White culture is a disease. We have been infecting you for generations. Smallpox, starvation, Snickers, Smam, Wonder Bread, whiskey. It's the food of the res. Vodka, Twinkies, Marlboros, Camels, cholera, coffee, consumption, Coke, 7-Up, Sprite. Forget clean water and open land, the deer, the elk, and just forget that goddamn buffalo.